Two very unsettling true scary stories. Story 1. The Figure in the Forest. I need to get this off my chest because what happened last 4th of July still keeps me up at night. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. And I've never been one to believe in the paranormal. What I experienced was real, and I have the scars to prove it. I live just outside Manchester, in one of those quiet villages where everyone knows everyone. My mate Marcus lives even further out, in a posh estate that's only accessible through these winding country lanes that snake through dense woodland. His family has this tradition of throwing a massive 4th of July party. Yes, I know it's an American holiday, but his mum is from Boston, and she insists on celebrating it properly every year. I've been going since we were teenagers, and it's always a brilliant time. The weather that summer had been unseasonably cold for July. I remember the chill in the air as I drove toward Marcus's house around 7:30 that evening. The narrow road was flanked by thick forest on both sides, and even with my full beams on, visibility was poor. There are no streetlights out there, just miles of dark trees and the occasional pothole to dodge. There's this abandoned cottage about halfway down the road, been empty for years, though sometimes I'd see a faint light flickering in the windows when I passed. Never thought much of it. People probably used it for shelter or whatever, but that night, as I came around a particularly sharp bend, my headlights caught something that made my blood run cold. Standing at the edge of the tree line, maybe 10 meters from the road, was a man. He was wearing what looked like a dark suit or jacket, completely inappropriate for the cold. He wasn't moving, just standing there, stock still, facing the road. His posture was wrong somehow, too rigid, like a mannequin. I didn't slow down. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to keep driving, and I did. As I passed him, I glanced in my rearview mirror. In the red glow of my taillights, I could see he turned his entire body to follow my car. He hadn't walked or shifted his feet. It was like he'd rotated in place. I pressed hard on the accelerator. I arrived at Marcus's around 8, parking in the gravel drive among the other cars. The party was in full swing. Music, laughter, the smell of barbecue. I tried to shake off what I'd seen, telling myself it was just some bloke out for a walk. But who walks alone in the middle of nowhere, in the dark, dressed like that? The party went on until well past midnight. We watched the fireworks display Marcus's dad had organized, toasted with champagne, and I helped clean up afterward like I always did. By the time I was ready to leave, it was nearly 2 in the morning, and my car was the last one in the drive. When I started the engine, the tire pressure warning light came on. My car's old, and this happens sometimes when the temperature drops, so I wasn't too worried. I figured I'd make it home and sort it in the morning. But then I remember that man on the road. Was he still out there? There's another route home, longer but better lit, cutting through the main village. I seriously considered taking it. But it was late, I was exhausted, and I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I'd just drive fast and get home. I should have taken the long way. Not even 5 minutes down that dark road, I felt something wrong with the car. There was a grinding sound, metal on asphalt, and the steering became impossible. I managed to pull over before the car died completely. My heart was hammering as I turned off the engine and stepped outside. Using my phone torch, I checked each tire. What I saw made me feel physically sick. All 4 tires had been slashed, not just punctured, but shredded, as if someone had taken a blade and systematically destroyed them. This wasn't damage from the road. This was deliberate. This was done while I was at the party. I stood there in the darkness, trying to process what this meant. Someone had followed me to Marcus's house. Someone had vandalized my car while dozens of people were inside, completely unaware. And now I was stranded on a pitch-black road with no phone signal and no help coming. I was about to get back in the car and lock the doors when something changed in the air. The wind died. The trees stopped rustling. Even the insects went silent. It was the kind of silence that makes your ears ring, the kind that feels unnatural. Then I heard it, a branch snapping in the woods to my left. I froze, holding my breath. More sounds, footsteps crunching through dead leaves, slow and deliberate. Something was moving through the forest toward me. I killed the light on my phone, plunging myself into total darkness. I've been waiting for you. The voice came from the trees, not 15 feet away. It was a man's voice, calm and measured, almost friendly. That somehow made it worse. Every muscle in my body locked up. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The voice came again. Why did you leave me? That broke the spell. I turned on my phone light and aimed it toward the sound. Standing at the forest edge was a man I'd seen earlier. I could see him properly now. The dark suit was actually a long coat, stained and torn. His face was gaunt, almost skeletal, with hollow eyes that reflected my light like an animal's. His mouth was twisted into something that might have been a smile. He was holding something in his right hand. A knife. A long, rusted hunting knife. I ran. I don't remember making a decision. My body just moved. I sprinted back down the road toward Marcus's house, my phone torch bouncing wildly. Behind me, I could hear him crashing through the undergrowth, pursuing me. He was faster than he looked. That abandoned cottage I'd mentioned, it was closer in the opposite direction. But something in my gut told me that's where he'd come from. That's where he'd been waiting. So I ran toward the only safety I knew. My lungs were burning, my legs screaming, but adrenaline pushed me forward. The sound of pursuit grew fainter. I was outrunning him. When Marcus's house came into view, every window dark, I nearly sobbed with relief. I pounded on the door, shouting for someone to let me in. Marcus's dad answered, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. I told him everything. The man, the knife, the tires, all of it. They called the police immediately and insisted I stay the night. I wasn't about to argue. The police said they'd search the area and that I could collect my car in the morning. I tried to sleep in the guest room, but every sound made me jump. At some point, exhaustion must have won because I drifted off. I woke to the sound of tapping on the window. The digital clock read 3:47 a.m. The guest room is on the second floor. There's no way someone could reach the window without a ladder. Tap, tap, tap. Then I heard it, muffled, from outside. Why won't you look at me? He was out there. He'd followed me here. He'd somehow climbed up to this window, and he was trying to get my attention. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I lay there in that bed, staring at the ceiling, until the sun came up and Marcus's family woke. When I finally told them, Marcus's dad found something in the gravel below the window, the same rusted hunting knife, left there like a calling card.L. The police took it as evidence. They searched that abandoned cottage and found signs someone had been living there, sleeping bags, empty food tins, and disturbingly, photographs. Dozens of photographs of people, candid shots taken through windows, from the woods, in car parks. They found one of me from months earlier, taken outside my local Tesco. They never found the man. Despite descriptions, despite searches, despite everything, he vanished. I still go to Marcus's 4th of July parties, but I never drive there alone anymore, and I always take the long way home. Some nights, when I'm lying in bed, I still hear that voice in my head. Why won't you look at me? I'm afraid one day I won't have a choice. Story 2. The Passenger. When I was 28, I flew to Edinburgh for a long weekend to visit some mates. I'd booked a late flight back to London, one of those budget deals that gets you in around midnight. By the time I collected my bag and made it to the taxi rank outside Heathrow, it was pushing 12:30. The official black cabs had massive queues, and I was knackered, so when a private hired driver approached me asking if I needed a ride, I said yes. He was driving a dark blue estate car, looked professional enough, and quoted me £35 to get to my flat in Dalston, reasonable for that time of night. I should have asked to see his license. I should have used Uber. I didn't. He helped me put my suitcase in the boot, but I said I'd keep my backpack with me in the rear seat. He seemed fine with that. I got him behind the passenger side, and he programmed my address into his sat-nav. We pulled out of the airport and onto the motorway. For the first 10 minutes, everything seemed normal. Then I caught him looking at me in the rearview mirror. Not just a glance, a long, studying look. It happened again a few minutes later. The third time, he spoke, coming back from somewhere nice. Edinburgh, I said, keeping it short. Lovely city. Were you there for work? Just visiting friends. His eyes found mine in the mirror again. Traveling alone, are you? Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. My boyfriend's meeting me at my flat. I lied. He's probably already there waiting. That's nice. He paused. What's his name? The question caught me so off guard that I hesitated a second too long. James, I said finally. James, he repeated, like he was testing the word. Does James know how lucky he is? I didn't respond. I pulled out my phone and started texting my brother, who I knew would still be up. I told him about the creepy driver and shared my location. My brother lived in Manchester, but at least someone would know where I was. We'd been on the M4 for about 15 minutes when I noticed we were approaching my exit. I sat up straighter, watching for the turnoff. We passed it. He didn't even slow down. That was my exit, I said. He didn't respond. Excuse me, that was my exit back there. Still nothing. He just kept driving, eyes fixed on the road ahead. The speedometer was climbing, 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. My heart started hammering. You need to turn around. You missed the exit. I know a better way, he said finally, his voice flat. I don't want a better way. I want you to turn around right now. We're nearly there. We weren't. I knew this route. We were heading in the completely wrong direction, away from central London, toward the industrial areas and warehouses near the airport perimeter. I grabbed the door handle, testing it. Locked. The child safety locks were engaged. I couldn't open the door from inside. Why are the doors locked? I tried to keep my voice steady. Safety, he said. That's when I noticed he'd taken his phone off the dashboard mount. The sat-nav screen was black. He'd turned it off. He wasn't following any directions. He knew exactly where he was taking me. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of this car. I looked at my phone, one bar of signal. I called 999, but before it could connect, the driver slammed on the brakes. We were on a dark stretch of road, industrial buildings on one side, empty fields on the other. No other cars. No witnesses. He turned around in his seat, and that's when I saw his face properly for the first time. His expression was blank, emotionless, but his eyes were wrong, too focused, too intense. You shouldn't have lied to me, he said quietly. There's no James, is there? I didn't answer. My hand was on the door handle, yanking uselessly. I don't like liars. He started to open his door, and that's when pure survival instinct kicked in. I threw myself between the front seats, scrambling for the driver's door handle. My fingers found the unlock button, and I jammed my thumb down on it. The locks clicked open. He grabbed for my leg, but I kicked backward, connecting with something solid. I heard him grunt, and his grip loosened just enough. I threw the back door open and tumbled out onto the asphalt, my backpack still clutched in one hand. I ran. I didn't look back. I just ran across the empty field, my phone torch lighting the way, expecting any second to hear footsteps behind me or see headlights swinging around to chase me down. There was a 24-hour petrol station maybe half a mile down the road. I'd seen it as we passed. I made it there in what felt like seconds, burst through the doors, and told the clerk to call the police. Through the windows, I could see the road we'd been on. His car was gone. The police arrived within 10 minutes. I gave them every detail I could remember, the make and model of the car, the registration plate, his description. They told me I was incredibly lucky. There had been 3 other reports in the past month of a private hired driver matching that description, operating around Heathrow late at night. 2 women had complained about inappropriate behavior. One had gone missing. They found her 4 days later in a warehouse near where he'd stopped with me. She'd been held there for 3 days before managing to escape when he brought her food. She was alive, but barely. They never caught him. He'd been using fake plates and a stolen private hire license. The car was probably stolen too. He knew the police were closing in, so he vanished. I moved flats a month later, even though he never knew my real address. I'd given him a fake one before I realized something was wrong. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he might come looking, might remember my face, might see me on the street one day. I don't take unmarked cabs anymore. I don't get into any vehicle unless I can verify exactly who the driver is and where they are taking me. And I never, ever travel alone at night without someone knowing exactly where I am. Sometimes I think about that warehouse, about what would have happened if I'd been just a little less alert, a little more trusting. Sometimes I think about that other woman, and I wonder what she saw in those 3 days, what he did to her, what he was planning to do to me. Mostly, though, I think about his eyes in that rearview mirror and the way he said, "I don't like liars." I still don't sleep well on Tuesday nights. That's the night it happened. Every Tuesday at half midnight, I'm wide awake, remembering.